Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, inspiration, hope, and an opportunity for you to share your story. Out there for all the business owners across the world, thank you for your support. We're here to help you share your story. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is Coexistence and Sustainability with the star of our show, Pet Psychic AMINAH. Today, we're going to be talking about a very special topic. Many people might not even be aware that these exist, but they are super highways for wildlife, and it's something that's really needed. We're going to get into it more. But let's welcome the star of our show. Joining us from California, it's Pet Psychic AMINAH. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Absolutely
How are you
great.
today?
Pardon me?
How are you today on this Friday?
Great. We've gotten some more needed rain, and luckily it stopped for a couple of days and we got it back. So guess what? I don't have to water any plants. I love it when God takes over.
It's a beautiful plan, that's for sure. And by the way, we missed you the other day. We did a special, Roland Friedel and myself, we did special on lizards. So
very cool.
Yeah, that was a fun show. But today we're going to be talking about wildlife. And this is something that's near and dear to you. You know much more about this than myself. But before we get into wildlife crossings, let's talk a little bit again, for our new viewers, and we have people joining us from Roku as well, and people on Instagram, as well as all the other platforms. What is it that being a pet psychic has to do with coexistence and sustainability?
Well, I'd be out of a job or a skill or a wonderful day in the park or any number of wonderful high emotional things if we didn't have animals. If we didn't have that. So my skill comes from birth. I've always heard the animals. I found out when I was very young that the adults or the older people than me would give me funny looks if I said, he doesn't like that. Didn't you hear him say he didn't like that? So I got really good at, I don't think anybody hears what I hear. And that was okay because I got a couple of degrees. I worked in a vet clinic. I got a lot of on-the-ground experience. I'm a trained trainer, not only for people, but for their pets. And it helped balance, I think, the God-given gifts.
Fantastic. We do have a comment over here, which I'm trying to bring up in case people don't realize not only am I co-hosting, but I'm also producing. So I'm juggling 10 things here. So let's say hello to Asif Khan. Hello. Thank you for watching over there on Facebook. Very much appreciate it. So Pet Psychic AMINAH, we've covered this topic before, but I don't think we can cover it enough because if you think about how mankind continues to build, we continue to expand into territories that were traditionally nature, that were for animals. We are literally evicting them from their homes and they're kind of stuck off Highway 405. Where am I supposed to go to get back to the lake that I want to go to? So what is it that first got you interested, particularly in these safe havens, these highway havens for wildlife?
Well, I got an opportunity to actually convince my professor that I was going to write one of my 7-10 page document that was due on a project for his class. And luckily, the bridges for animals have been around for a number of years, and they really took off by the 80s, 1980s. They really saw the use in it. So many animals and people die on the highways, the byways, the freeways, everywhere. An animal sees a fence and they just go, oh, there's an obstacle course, so I just need to jump over it or crawl under it. And they have no concept of why all the cars are and how fast they go. And what we have seen, people in my industry have seen, and now the government has followed suit, is people are dying, animals are dying unnecessarily. There's just, you gotta change the education into language that they both understand. And that's where the bridges came from. We are very, very fortunate all over the world. There are bridges now going over highways and freeways and big metropolis, even a lot of skyscrapers. They've figured out how to change the glass in a skyscraper so the bird sees a reflection, not of another bird, because that's how the old glass did it, but by getting some kind of scary thing, which technically it's them flying by and over and not hitting that glass and breaking their neck. That's true what happens. Break a feather, break a whole wing, all of that type of stuff. And by the time they land on the ground, they're done for. With these highways that go over highways and their bridges, basically, they have made them with moss growing in the middle, and it's better for the type of animal that's coming across, like let's say a goat or squirrels or whatever. That's a really great material to dig their feet, nails, and body into. They don't make it like a waterway or a place to nest or anything. It's not that it can't happen, but what the bridge does is typically you have soil, land, dirt, houses, whatever on one side. It's usually some kind of mountain or hill, or the freeway's been built lower. And on the other side is the water they need, the fishing place they're going to hunt, or they're looking for a mate and all the other deer are all already on that side. In the building of these bridges, they make them really animal friendly, meaning they'll do some just all carpeted with grass, real grass usually, and depending on their sides. Of course, they've got the two sides as if, we were walking on the bridge. They've got the rails there, and they've got a wood that is movable so the animal can get his nails into. So we're dealing with deer, we're dealing with small rodents, we're dealing with skunks, and you name it. They can walk over that. Now, we don't, in the United States, don't build them for the elephants. If you're in the state, in the country that has that type of animal, they actually have walking paths also. But can you imagine the construction?
Yeah, so many things. I just want to comment on what you said. First of all, when you think about any large city, okay, just picture a city in your mind. I can see these huge glass buildings, glass everywhere. And I don't think people really take into consideration, if you are a bird and you see reflection, you could think that it's another bird and you slam into it. And I know
it kills you.
Yeah, exactly. I know where I am, just a regular shopping center, one level, that I've seen a number of dead birds because the buildings are all glass. The storefronts are all glass and they fly right into it. You see them lying there dead.
Right. So we are not only taking over all the decent land to put our buildings, put our homes, to make another car factory making, or a pipe that burns some kind of something. We are hogging up all the resources. It's not necessary. And now we have been building our offices are whatever, as you can imagine, those 20 million story buildings. You go to, what is it? The Eiffel Tower in France and here and there. Our construction is lovely. I don't have any problem with that, but we didn't think through who got affected. Now we do. And that's been going on since the 80s. Really good push about the people who have the glass sides, and all the bird sees is a reflection, which he sees another bird. He doesn't understand that's you and you're going to hit. And what does a bird do when they hit that glass? Typically they break their neck. And then they fall how many ever feet they are up on that building. So now they're putting in a type of reflective glass. So the bird either sees trees, if the trees are that high, and or a reflection of themselves, and a lot of darkness, so that they know that this is something finite and hard, and there's no place to put their talons or their nails, but they think, oh, wait a minute, that's an end. And what you can do in your own home is you can get these really, really neat films, like, when you want to shadow down your house and you don't want too much sun coming in. They do that too, but you can get one with little bitty lines in it or dots or whatever decoration you like, because they now come in literally hundreds of colors and hundreds of sizes. And you peel it off, you stick it on, you can take it off, of course, later. And I don't mean day to day, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, of course, the weather will weather it. But you know what it will also do, Dr. Jacalyn? If you put film on your windows?
It's going to keep the heat out.
And the cold, whatever you're in. You're going to insulate. So we now have dual pane windows, right? I don't think anybody doesn't do dual pane windows, do they?
Raise your hand, anybody out there?
Yeah, exactly. If you're doing it, it's like, oh, you must have a really old place. And that happens with old homes still. They haven't upgraded the glass. But dual pane keeps that hot, cold thing that when we were kids, it was always freezing. I lived in the desert and it snowed there, and we had single pane windows, but I didn't understand why the house was so cold and why my parents were so hesitant to put the heater on, or we got an air conditioner later, because it's horribly expensive to have for a whole house. Ours was a 2-story. It was 7 rooms, blah blah blah, lots of space. It's expensive. So you don't want to have, first of all, a dead bird on your hands, because the body just falls to the ground and you will know. And also you want to maybe change up how your appliances are working, your heater, your air conditioner. And they have tons of films out there. They can be decorative, they can have little lines in them, they can just look dark. Lots of different ways you can go and really actually decorate your place. And if you're in a place like I grew up in a desert, those air conditioner bills are really high. And this will cut that down also. And the heater, you're not getting the loss in the glass. So I want to really get through to everybody. It's not just the birds' lives. It can benefit you to do this. And if that's the incentive, great. Do it for yourself. Save the money.
Excellent. Excellent direction as always. So Pet Psychic Amin, I want to talk a little bit about the term roadkill. Mm-hmm. We've all heard this before. We've seen or experienced it where wildlife is running across the road and people go, what are you doing? Well, they used to live here. Hello. They used to live here.
That was the path to the lake.
They're trying to get from point A to point B.
Yes.
So someone, I don't know who the first creator or the inventor of this, decided to come up with a way for animals to cross over a highway or a freeway by building what is a super highway over. So it's like a path that goes over. What do you know about this?
Well, again, having researched this for one of my college papers, it brings back great memories, because what's really cool is not everybody's dealing with deer and their tiny little, hooves. And not everybody's dealing with raccoons and skunks or whatever's in that part of your world as far as wildlife go. And they don't have butterfly wings, or they're not birds or anything like that. The bridges that they now have put up, and they did this a few years after they started to really look at the science of bridges. They are now making bridges. If you Google this, it's just fabulous, that are decorative outside. So they've got the railing for people to actually walk. If people want to, they would walk. It's not segregated or anything, but you're going to get a lot of animals walking with you too. But imagine the animals are going to come early morning, late at night. That's when they do a lot of movement. And of course, you'll see deer around all the time because they're grazers. They are going to target that bridge with a surface that is the most safe, most constructive, put together. So they'll put artificial grass. It lasts longer, and they won't eat it. So they might take one piece and go, this isn't yummy. Because the point of it's not for everybody to hang out on the bridge, is to get them from point A to point B. So there will be, I've seen boards where they rough them up and they just make them so they're not slippery. And you got, again, deer and anything like that, those hooves do slide and they do fall out from under them. So they have to be careful. There are, gosh, the last time I looked this up, they were over, I want to say conservatively, over 10 types of ground that they put on the bridge. So going up to the bridge was really, really special with all kinds of animals. You get your small, like skunks, you get your squirrels, all of that type of stuff. They could come from a tree and come down, because some freeways, some branches of the trees are that close to the bridge that they built. With all this considered, of all the types of animals that might be there, there is a wonderful program with the scientists and the construction people who are doing this work to get that right surface for that animal. If you've got a horse, I don't know why you'd have a horse, but let's say it's a pony or something and it's loose and it goes over there, that's a whole different hoof than you have with the deer. So what you have to create is bubbly and bumpy and not too trip, but also a lot of them really do a great job of putting in artificial grass. So nobody's stopping to eat it. It stays up there weather-wise, and it does very well. Depending on the animals also, they will have a really nice, whatever cement or metal that they make the railing out of. But inside, when the animals are walking, many times it will be darkened out. It will be a board, if you want to put it that way, a plywood board or some kind of poles that tells the animal, yeah, we're not going this way. But they take a look at, what's really exciting is they're taking a look at who are they serving? Who and what are the animals they're serving in this, let's say 5-mile block? That's not a thing, but 5 miles round. Because those animals are either going to the lake or they're coming back to where they have babies, and or they're out hunting all over the United States and everywhere else. We are putting now animals' lives as number one. And if you've ever talked to somebody who has hit a deer and their car was completely totaled, I have never, ever seen a straight hit on where the deer's standing in the freeway just looking at people going, where are you doing? And somebody doesn't see him, doesn't get to swerve, and they don't hit the guard, which lots of people got killed before they did this bridge thing. But if you're up against a bear or a full antlered deer, your car's toast and you could get killed. And then the person behind you who didn't see the accident hits you, and then it's a chain reaction. There are no downsides here. This is something we needed to do for years, and the technology is easier than ever.
Thanks so much. I think a question that comes to mind is just a basic question. So you build this that has the sod or the grass or whatever,
Mhm.
and what do you do? Hello, yes, all animals, please, can you come here? Because today, instead of going this way, we're going to go up and over and around. How does this happen? I mean, there's no one out there giving classes on how
Nope.
the animals have to cross over. So how do they do it?
Instinct. It is their world to be out there, and things change all the time. You have a tree up and then it gets soggy and gets old and it falls down. Well, everybody, Bob and all his friends call each other and say, hey, dude, we got free wood. So their world constantly changes because they're in nature, and nature is always changing, right? We've got a 90-degree day, we got a 30-degree day, we got ice, we got water. Just depends on where you live on how flexible your weather is or what happens with global warming. What we don't want is, and what we're preventing with the bridge is, we know that the animals need to go from one side to the other. That's already established because of all the deaths on the freeway or the highway or whatever rural road you have this problem. So how do you solve the problem? That's where bridges came on. People have been making and doing bridges for decades. Now we have them a little bit stronger structure. They don't sway. You're not going to get one of those typically. And the animals have grass and dirt and all of that. So they're like, oh, this is faster. I saw Bob, he got that squirrel in 30 minutes or less. And it took me 20 minutes to find one on this side. So they will automatically be curious and interested in what has been put there. So the hard part with the construction that I always worry about is all the destruction to build the bridge. We've all seen houses built, right, Dr. Jacalyn? You've always seen shopping centers built.
Sure.
And it's like Desolation Island before they get all the buildings up and all the paint spilled, and then the faux grass goes in, and the plastic trees or the real trees. It's a mess.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't think you were finished. Yeah, it's definitely a mess. And something else I'd like to discuss, I'm going to bring up some photographs of the animal crossings.
Great.
Are these crossings, they be considered to be sort of like an afternoon get together place? Like, let's go to the park and meet.
Yes, absolutely. It absolutely could be that, let's all go hang out at Bob's house. Oh, that's right. Bob lives by that big old thing.
Exactly.
Because what we have to strike is that happy medium. So with our logo that sadly took a vacation on my screen today, but our green glass, beautiful logo that you've got as our backdrop, and everybody's like, oh, well, they're going to crash into it. That's why it's so important. Animals, especially animals in flight, do not understand glass and windows. So there's so many things we can build in that makes it safe for the people, makes safe for the animals. So it's really, really great to do that. And when you can still see in and out of the glass, and that's what they do on like the big buildings and the buildings that are getting strikes, 6 flight up, 10 flights up, it's a huge, and can you imagine trying to change the glass every time it gets broken? No. And then that bird, if it doesn't die from the collision, break their neck is what usually happens, then they die when they get to the ground, which is upwards of 3 to 10 stories later. So it's all terrible. And then people find the dead bodies on the ground. Could you imagine walking by one of these buildings and getting hit by a dead bird?
I know, it's horrible.
Yeah,
so
I can't scare everybody into saying, please put a film on your door, because some of us have windows that are just like this.
Yeah.
So
we're showing some visuals right now.
Great.
Of underpasses, overpasses, quite interesting, all different types.
And they're making it artistic. The ones I did in my paper, which now is 10 years ago, And that was really when the heyday of all this. So it was neat to see that the columns were sculpted that held up the bridge, or you had a wood bridge, you had a metal bridge, and because some freeways, right, they go on forever. I live off of a highway that literally goes all the way across the US. So that you're going to get a few places you need bridges.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some images, and what I really like is how creative they all are. I mean, we saw one that looked like it was woven, and that was for squirrels, but there were birds that were there. We saw another that were for turtles. So I really appreciate the fact that there are people out there coming out with these great ideas about how to protect the wildlife.
Did they use like a rope for?
It looked like it was a rope. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know how many happy squirrels are running up and down that thing?
Yeah, exactly.
And they get to look down, but not be on the ground, which is not as safe for any reason. And they can run up and down, and you can get so many animals accommodated with these simple things that you can do. Is just make a wood seal the wood for them to go across, like for deer, and the ones that have all of this hooves and the way they need to watch. Now, if you're going to have an elephant problem, I think you're going to have to build a really strong bridge to take care of that. But what they also are doing, I don't know if you saw this or when we were pulling all this together, but they will also make underground bridges. If that is more hospitable, and you get the animals to do that, because again, it's underground. There's a lot of competition for food. Hey, the fox shows up to eat you. That would be bad. But the architectural work has really, really escalated. And it's wonderful to see, because when you're on these freeways, and I have seen this in Southern California, they had a couple of them that they were testing, and they were going from this really, really rural place. And what were we going to do with all those animals that were? We had mountain lions and deer and everything that were crossing. So you can direct them. Let's say you don't want them to get off the bridge, you know, at McDonald's, something that's on the other side. Then they make another path and make it going into the forest or something like that, where they're keeping not only the animals safe, but people safe. And we all know there's some crazy people out there that don't like bugs and don't like, I don't know, something, and they feel they have the right to kill it just because they don't like it. That's not cool. So if we preempt that problem of somebody being afraid of an animal, that's normal. That's just being a person and say, hey, I don't know what that wolf's going to do, or I don't know what that badger's going to do. These are two pretty heavy duty animals that will bite you if they feel threatened. How many people do you know, Dr. Jacalyn, or you probably never even asked, but I have, and just said, why can't you just ignore them and walk a little farther out?
Yeah, I think something you just said is really important. An animal can sense emotion. Would you kindly talk a little bit more about this, whether it's joy or fear? Let's talk about a dog, for example.
Yeah, well, and we can be as broad as you were implying, because animals like us. So I was born in the United States. My husband was born in the Middle East. My kids were born in the middle of the state. And my sister has a different husband that was born somewhere else, and somebody else was born. It's not where you're born or the way you're put together. It's yes, I have teeth, you have nails. You need to look at the animals you're servicing and making it appropriate. So having, instead of a metal, like walk, you know, you see some bridges and they've got a handrail, and that's, I don't know, to get people to not jump off the bricks or something like that. And we've all seen, you know, movies where somebody would drop a banner. This is not going to be for the animals. The animals need a different surface, so they feel like they can get their claws in. If they feel, you know, God forbid, a big mountain lion comes this way and you got a squirrel going that way, I'll tell you, the squirrels turn around and run back. And it would really help if they could get some traction. So we need to know what animal we're servicing, and they need to talk to the professionals who've studied these animals about when do they migrate? Do they migrate? When are they having babies? How big is the heaviest one that you'll ever see? You have to have these numbers. You have to. And sadly or good, you have enough scientists and people who have wildlife sanctuaries and zoos who know about this. If you're dealing with a gorilla or a chimpanzee, that's like a couple 100 pounds different and ginormous. So you've got to service the clientele you're after and make it safe for them to come and go. And that's why the bridges, what's really neat is the architect in this day and age has really stepped up to these beautiful carvings on the side, cement or wood, whatever they've done. And that's how they've created the wall or the window or the fence, if whatever it's supposed to be. So you don't necessarily see the animals. You'd have to be on a pretty tall truck, but they have signs everywhere. Usually it says wildlife crossing. And we've seen this. I don't know if you've seen it. Well, you probably have, because you have a lot of deer also. And we, in some of the rural place, we have deer crossing signs since I was a little kid.
And
yeah, and so it's really, really nice to say, okay, I can do this, I can get that one, I can, have an idea that there is you can turn around and go to another place. But the animals don't have that awareness until, I'd love to ask one, after they lose 3 people or 4 people, which is so tragic. And nobody needs that stress, much less that tragedy. Animals are really good to just getting on where they're going. And the people who are dealing with these bridges now are doing better and better every year. I saw actually one about a month ago, and it was really small because it was a really small area. So they were catering to a different animal. The squirrels, yeah, they run the tree, but they also want to get to where they think the next honey is. And it happens to be a lot of times parking lots and other places, doors and buildings where humans are. And that's where we really get a conflict.
absolutely. Something I would love to segue into is if, unfortunately, you are in an accident with an animal, you hit a deer, something runs into your car, what should you do?
Well, in the state of California, I know that you are obligated, and I believe this is U.S. wide. I haven't kept up on that law, that you are obligated to call Fish and Wildlife or something in that area. Fish and Wildlife is all over the U.S. So you are obligated to tell them what's happened so they can come out and evaluate the deer or make sure you're all right. They, of course, will ask if you're all right. If you hit a full-size deer with the whole rack and everything, you're probably not driving home. That's going to be really serious injuries. And of course, they want to make sure you're all right by hitting something because the bucks are ginormous, and not just height. And when they're in full horns, I don't know if everybody understands, the horns do fall off and then they grow more. But they can be serious racks out here in that process. And then what happens when you've got a mom and a baby? She tries to protect her baby. She has no idea that a car is just zooming through and they didn't see her. So there's damage. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people dying from deer strike. You're in Alaska or in some place where deers are very, very common. I grew up about 45 miles from the forest, and I was there all the time with my parents. And deer just kept us at a distance. Once in a while I get to see them, but not very often. But I will tell you, they all see you. They all see you coming. If you want to miss mountain lions, don't go where they live because they see you. And hopefully you smell bad, or I don't know, you don't look appetizing. That's why we need to coexist. And these bridges honors the animals that need to get from point A to point B, because that's how they live. They do not, and I don't mean to be derogatory or mean or anything. This is a fact. Humanity, people, me included, we use resources till they're gone. We dig a hole and there's no more sand. We go on and dig another hole. We build buildings that need maintenance. We throw our trash and we let it blow all over the place. On and on and on. Our cars are finally coming to a place where they're not just guzzling gasoline. All those dead dinosaurs, there weren't enough to keep doing this at this pace, and making our clothes and our technology. And how many of us, we had last year, a TV die. And I don't know about you, Dr. Jacalyn, we had the hardest time trying to find a recycle center that would take a television. It was really tough. So these animals are trying to get through the world to coexist with us, but we have to step in there and do it. Hence the animal bridges. It has just been a huge lifesaver for everybody, for the animals, for the people in their cars. Having grown up outside of a place called Big Bear, and it's just what it sounds like. It's snow and there's deer all over the place and there's mountains all over the place. So I would go up and help my dad. We had a wood business. And so we would go up there, and the fallen wood was what his license was for. And just to see the wildlife looking around and going, okay, what do I do with you? What do I do with you? But they aren't there to do anything but get something to eat, get something to drink, have their babies in a safe place. And it's humanity that doesn't understand, I think, a lot of us, that just take a deep breath. If you're up against a porcupine, stand still because those quills will hurt like you never ever want to ever have one. And I worked with skunks. The skunks that we had, of course, ended up being de-skunked, if you want to call it that. So they have a little pouch of where all that nasty, smelly stuff goes. And so when you're in captivity, they remove that gland. And I used to do educational stories with it and bring them to kids' classroom, because when are you going to see a skunk? Hopefully never, because they're going to use their ammo, turn around and spray you. And from what I understand from a close friend who got sprayed, tomato juice just doesn't cut it. Do you remember that, Dr. Jacalyn? Or you ever had anything to do with skunks?
I remember that.
Yep, got to have the tomato paste. There it is.
Well, the good news is we are moving in the right direction. I really feel we are being inclusive and saying, animals are important, wildlife is important, coexisting is important. And I'll tell you what, seriously, I look out the window and they're back. There's more of them. They keep coming. I don't know where they're coming from, but I just have to accept it. I'm not driving myself crazy anymore. I'm just saying, the iguanas are here. No matter what I do, right, they are still here. So,
and it's partly your state, it's your weather. It's, we are the visitors. We are the ones who came in last. And that's what we all have to realize. Just because you could shoot them or, tie them up on a string or put them in a cage, should you? Because you don't know how they're benefiting all the bugs. I am all for any number of frogs who will eat all the mosquitoes when I'm visiting because they're terrible. And I have been bit up by everything. And before we went to Alaska, my family and I went to Alaska for a summer, and we drove, camper, the whole thing. Everybody had stuffies. You know what stuffies are, right? Like stuffed teddy bears?
Oh, yes, sure.
Yeah. So there's a slang amongst the kids that you call it a stuffy. So they literally would sell mosquitoes as stuffed toys. And they were all up and down the Alcan Highway, which is the famous path that everybody took back and forth. And they paved it so that people could drive it. And I would see these spiders and these mosquitoes and stuffies. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not that desperate. No child is that desperate to have a mosquito, because it's not really cuddly. You need a bear, you know. Even a snake is better than that. But this is about coexistence. This is why we have this new title. You are hitting it great on the head, on the nail, on the head on the nail. Some slang like that, because I can't do what I do without actually caring about the lives that I either get to interact with and or the people I get to help. So I explain things. I have been around many, many, many snakes. I happen to love them, and I love working with them. And they're not slimy. That's not a thing. If you thought snakes were slimy, they're not. Water ones, that's different. There are some snakes that live in the water and will come back and forth. I'm talking about your regular ones. And I don't know if I ever explained this to you, Dr. Jacalyn. I have intimate knowledge on what it feels like to be bitten by a snake. I was doing a children's program out in the tundra. One of the kids had caught a snake. So I took the opportunity to say, no, first of all, give me the snake. No, none of the kids are going to have it. And our kids at that one would have been 5 to 19. So lots of different things. What do you think the kids are doing while I'm holding the snake and saying, okay, wait, let's talk about this? So I could show them that the head was not a diamond shape, but it was more oval. Do you know what that represents? A diamond, personal?
I have no idea.
Diamond shape are poisonous, ovals are
Oh.
not. And that is something across the snake families. I think everybody's like that. So that's the easiest way to tell. Now, if he's got a rattle on the back, let's go with it's a rattler. Let's just chop that one up and don't say, excuse me, I need to see your head. Please hold still.
Now, if the head's in the shape of a diamond, it's poisonous?
Almost. I haven't looked this up, but I'm going to say 100%. Just let's.
So if the
let's
snake has just a round head.
Yeah, no, then they're harmless. They still have teeth.
Okay, don't play around with snakes, people.
What I was doing is these kids had picked up whatever kind of snake they had picked up, but not poisonous, just so you know, to the end of the story. And I was coming out of one of the cabins. I was a staff, and all these kids, oh my God, you know, some of the girls yelling too much. The boys are looking brave, but they weren't. So I got 10 or 15 campers, anywhere from 11 to 15. Now I have the snake. Now, again, I grew up being able to handle these and worked with wildlife for a long time. So I'm holding it, and there's a way to hold the head so it doesn't turn around and bite you. Well, the problem is I got all these little kids, and I'm trying to get them to calm down, stop screaming, because there were a few of them that were screaming just for the effect more than that they were really afraid. And so the snake is freaking out, and I'm trying to hold him gently, but not let him, you know, get anybody or jump down and get hurt. So he eventually had his head loose enough that while the kids are talking and, ooh, this is cool, and they brought over more kids, so we got like 10 kids around me, snake turned around and chomped me on the hand. I mean, repetitively. He bit me about 3 times. And so, of course, it punctured my hand. And all I did was, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, could you guys all go back to your tents now? And I got the night off, and the first aid and the nurse, they for some reason said, oh, do you need to lay down to the, I said, no, it's like sewing. I got a bunch of holes in my hand. So of course we had some antibiotics, but I had the nicest night off. Everybody brought me drinks. I got to lay on a cot. I was like, okay, well, this is not bad. Again, I've had a lot of falls and trips off of bikes. It didn't faze me much. I was more concerned that it was going to go for the kids. So it was easier for me to hold on to him a little bit tighter and get his teeth and his mouth away from my hand.
Wow, an incredible story. So I just want to give a disclaimer. If you see a snake, please do not spend a lot of time analyzing. Just
don't be me. Don't be me. If you take a course and you're doing education, just leave them on the ground and talk about them from there. There's no reason we need to pick them up and hold them. No. Again, I was probably all of 11 when that happened. Maybe.
Yeah, it's a good lesson that you learned.
Yeah, so, and it was kind of fun. And then, you know, I got home and my parents are like, you know, well, she's got a couple scrapes. It happens. I never tell them.
We love that. Makes for a good story. But Pet Psychic Amina, we have to close out for today. Our time has gone by so quickly. It's always great to see you. How can people reach out to you? I mentioned to you earlier, we're now on Instagram, we're on Roku, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on our websites. People want to contact you, they can go to LinkedIn, they can go to your website, they go to Facebook. Tell us more.
Yeah, I tried to make this really simple. I'm only on the two platforms that you mentioned. I'm on LinkedIn and I am on Facebook. And all you have to do is go to bridgingworlds.us. It's literally that. So Bridging Worlds is what I do. That's the modality. I'm here to bridge between your pets and you, and your neighbors and you, whatever you're having a conflict or you're looking for another training tip. As you can see, I really like going outside the box. And there is a box, maybe a box. I doubt there's a box. If not, we're going to give it to the cats. But bridging
right there's your LinkedIn profile. People can, and there's our show right there, right underneath it. So you can go right over and find AMINAH on LinkedIn and also on Facebook. And we'll be back next week with another exciting topic. I look forward to it.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, whether you're on an audio or video platform. We really do appreciate you. If you are on Roku, please go ahead and add our channel. We would love to have you. I just purchased my Roku so I can make sure the programs are streaming properly. But please go to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV, and subscribe. This show is in our playlist called Coexistence and Sustainability. You can watch all of Pet Psychic AMINAH's shows there. This is episode 156. So there's a lot to keep you busy with. So start listening, start watching. We really look forward to it. And also, if you'd like to be a guest on our show, please go to our website, usaglobaltv.com, book your session. We're signing off for now. We want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again on Monday. Bye.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
program is brought to you in part by the British School of Excellence and founder, Mr. Philip Sykes. Building confidence, changing lives. Do you share our view that etiquette is a set of modern life skills that are essential for personal and professional success? Join us as an etiquette coach and change people's lives through the power of etiquette and manners.
The last few days have been really amazing. I had a trainer course from the British School of Etiquette.
And I must say it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made and one of the best investments I've made in my own training and development.
Now, words alone will not describe the transformation and the positive path that I have traveled with the British School of Etiquette.
I found I learned a lot from the lessons this time I came.
The last few days with the British School of Etiquette have been fantastic.
And what I've learned now is really beyond my expectations.
This is the most rewarding experience and the best investment I have made this year.
It was just great. I learned so much, and when I go back to Belgium I will incorporate a lot of it into my day-to-day life and business.
It's been absolutely wonderful for the whole week that we were here.
I feel transformed, and I feel like blowing a trumpet and tell people, come and do this school, this class is the best, this is the best school ever.
You should take it. It will change your life immediately.
I am now able to teach other people how to bring the best of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, BSc.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to our clients for their testimonials on the Train the Trainer program. Our exponential and global growth is so significant that we've evolved from the British School of Etiquette to the British School of Excellence, where we're investors in people. Let us invest in you and your career. Contact us to become an etiquette coach. Go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. Start your career and elevate your success today.